Good morning, everyone. My name is Przemysław Magiera. I am from Microstrategy. I'd like to show you today Microstrategy 10. This is the newest version of Microstrategy. Yeah, there's a question? No question. Okay. So before we start, could you please tell me how many of you is familiarized already with MicroStrategy? If you please raise your hand. Do you know MicroStrategy already? So I can, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I can see some people already knowing MicroStrategy and some not. That's why perhaps I will first tell a few words about MicroStrategy itself. This is a company who is focused on analytics, and it was founded 25 years ago. And from the beginning, it was developing software, business intelligence software, and this is the main focus of the company from the beginning to the end, to now. And this year, on 1st June 2015, we introduced MicroStrategy 10, the newest version, this major release of MicroStrategy. And this very week, we introduced 10.1, which is even newer, but it's something like more about quality of the code and about some new features as well. So this is very, very new software we will be talking today about. So if you ask me, what is the most important thing I believe about MicroStrategy 10? I would say this is self-service at scale. So let me explain this a bit more. So in reality, currently, if we look at the landscape of business intelligence and what is going on in the market, you will see several let's say, tools which are not so well integrated, especially when you look at one specific organization and would like to look at self-service and analytics capabilities. And on the other hand, the enterprise-wide business intelligence, usually it is something separated, in fact. It's not very integrated. And MicroStrategy 10, in fact, is trying to put it in order, I mean, so that the users do not need to choose between agility, ad hoc analytics, agile analytics, and governance. Or they do not need to choose between ease of use or enterprise ready. Or in general, they do not need to to choose between whether it's great for a business user or for IT. So also organizations like Gartner, they indicate that to achieve success with self-service, you need to provide also enterprise capabilities. So this needs to be really, really integrated. And we believe that MicroStrategy 10 is exactly doing that. It's providing self-service analytics for business users, and at the same time, it's providing the whole business intelligence platform. So if you look at an example organization, right, and you will see that usually the visual data discovery tools, which are business-friendly tools, which business users very like because they can take the data, they can visualize the data, they are usually disconnected a lot from the rest of the business intelligence ecosystem. So they cannot, for example, take the analytics they created and promote and scale this to thousands of users, for example. So in MicroStrategy 10, you will see that this is just incorporated into the whole system. So data discovery and visualization is just another part as well integrated as, for example, enterprise reporting and dashboards, and, for example, monitoring and data mining. So let's take a look at the most important product which was introduced in MicroStrategy 10, which is exactly about self-service. This is MicroStrategy Desktop. In fact, MicroStrategy Desktop is exactly the tool a business analyst would use, right? business user. So for example, let's assume you are a business user and you would like to analyze some data, and you just get a dashboard, nice looking dashboard. You can play with this dashboard, you can select some selectors, see some specific data, but there is something missing for you, right? You would like to enrich this dashboard with your own data, with your own personal or departmental data. So desktop can do this, with desktop you can do this very, very fast. So now in Microstrategy 10, what is new, it's that is available also on Mac. Before it was only for PC. So this is something like standalone desktop that you can install on your machine. Of course, there's still access to server via web, Microstrategy web, so that you can connect and without any installation, without using any installed software on your site, just web browser, you can use all the functionalities we are talking today. But let's focus for a moment on this standalone desktop that you can install on your machine and use offline. So you don't need even the access to the server. So it provides you with the capabilities of, for example, data blending. So this is a very, very powerful functionality which allows you to take data from several sources and blend this ad hoc, right? On the fly, and present, analyze the data, visualize the data very fast. And this Microstrategy desktop was completely rewritten in Microstrategy 10 in HTML5. So this is just to get rid of all those limitations of Flash. If you look at the integrated family of analytics products in MicroStrategy, you will find that there is the main server, Analytics Enterprise. This is the platform. And you will find, of course, the traditional MicroStrategy web that you can access and monitor your data, analyze the data, and interact on dynamic dashboards. And you will see also MicroStrategy mobile that you can take all those dashboards and reports and just go anywhere you like and use them, also offline. But you will find also now MicroStrategy desktop, which is now incorporated into the whole picture. So what does it mean, in fact? It means that you can, for example, take the MicroStrategy desktop dashboard that you created, and you can promote this to the whole ecosystem. You can upload this to the server, or you can send, for example, the dashboard to someone, and this person may decide to upload this and use. Apart from them, MicroStrategy provides some tools which allow you to measure the success of those dashboards or reports. So you can, for example, as administrator, you can take a look at what is successful, what is used frequently by users, what kind of analyses are useful to people. And you can just incorporate this into MicroStrategy schema, MicroStrategy business model. You will find in new MicroStrategy desktop and in general in MicroStrategy Visual Insight, as we call it in web, you will find self-service analytics with some stunning visualizations. So there's a set of very nice visualizations. You have lots of other changes, like, for example, improved filter selectors or enhanced ASCII maps and geocoding, and also some extended D3 visualizations can be added to the library of visualizations. So if we talk about extensions, take a look please at this slide. On the right side, you will see three main points about extensions of the self-service. The first one is exactly data visualizations libraries. So you can basically take any Java library, and if you like a specific visualization, you can just incorporate this into the MicroStrategy platform. Another thing is analytics and data mining, and also statistical computing. So out of the box, we provide lots of capabilities, but now the system is open. Already it was open in previous versions, but it's even improved now to the R language for statistical computing. So you have thousands of statistical packages that you can reuse in MicroStrategy, just like they were non-specific metrics, just like any other metrics in the system. Another thing is geolocational data visualizations. So there's lots of improvements in this area as well. So I mentioned already this, but perhaps it's worth to highlight that you can now, that there is lots of fantastic visualizations there, right, in internet. You can take them, you can download this, upload this to MicroStrategy, and use just like any out-of-the-box visualization. I think this is something really useful. Another thing is that we provide more than 300 native statistical data mining functions that allow you to answer questions like what is happening in the aggregate, or how are we doing versus comparables, or what is likely to happen based on past history, or what do we want to happen. So this is out of the box, but if there is a more complex need, or you have some data scientists in your organization that use some other tools, you still can do this with MicroStrategy. As I mentioned, you can connect to R, and you can use the packages of R, but you can also connect or reuse some data mining models from, for example, SAS or SPSS. Also, the improvements of maps, of course, we have integrations with several providers of maps like Google, like Esri, but especially Esri, we provide out of the box. So if you want your maps in web, you can just ask us for a license which comes together with other license. You don't need to pay for this additionally, and you will get a cloud-based Esri map that you can use immediately, right? And I am focusing here on self-service, but of course this is not the whole picture. We are talking about analytics platform. So analytics platform is more broad, right? So you might have a nice dashboard, you might have monitoring, data mining, and so on and so on. But what is important, you may combine this all in so-called information-driven applications or information-based applications. Here is just an example of such application. So it's very rich application that you may have access to via web or via mobile. And you can not only monitor the data or do some analysis of the data on the fly, but you can also generate some transactions, for example. So you can, for example, set some goals for people, or you can specify some specific numbers, to some benchmark to compare to. Or, for example, you can provide some comments in context of specific situation. So this is very, very powerful, and you can take this from the desk together with your mobile device and go, for example, to a meeting with customer, and you will still have access to this via mobile devices, which is very, very important, and still you will retain those capabilities of transactions, for example, that you can send back to the system some data which will be reused later by other applications immediately. Another aspect of this that you can use multimedia as well in those applications. So this can be a really, really rich application with access to some videos, some multimedia files, or for example to some streaming from the web, or for example from web services, so the information can come not only from your place, from your databases, but it can be taken online from, for example, some public web services. So the other important thing is that if you have access to your prepared data sets by someone in your company, it's great, right? But it's even better if you have these capabilities to combine this information with other sources, right? So now if you take a look at what we introduced in 10, you will find more than 20 new data sources that not only architects can reuse, but also business users can directly connect to and get the information from. So for example, all those social media sources like Twitter, Facebook, and so on, right? Or cloud applications like Google Analytics. Or we can even take other business intelligence platforms like, for example, our competitors, and we can create on top of these our applications. For example, mobile applications, because especially mobile is very, very well received by the market of mobile MicroStrategy. And there are some other improvements, like for example, for Hadoop now, for big data, we have direct connections to Hadoop. So in the past, we had to use, for example, Hive or some other systems, or we had to use SQL, but now we have direct connection to Hadoop. It accelerates the connection and taking the data from Hadoop dramatically. Of course, we still have lots of other data sources. Here you can see only just some examples of those data sources, but all those relational databases or the different multidimensional cubes or cloud applications or flat files or web services, they are still there, and of course you can incorporate them into your analytics. And what is also important, I believe, is that nowadays data analysts, they spend lots of time improving the quality of the data. So when you look, you know, how much it takes for them to create a report, lots of the time is spent in this area, that they have some data. They just get immediate business need from someone to create, for example, something. And they just need to take ad hoc the data from different sources. And sometimes it's difficult for them, right? Because the data is not exactly the same format, there is not exactly the right shape of the data. So now we introduced so-called data wrangling. It allows you as an architect or you as a business user even to take the data, your data, and transform this data in such a way that it is useful, right? So there's lots of nice functions for doing that. There's something like prediction engine which tells you what would be good to do with this data. The automatic % prepare functions, or you can use all those hundreds of different functions to improve the data. And in 10, it was working for local and URL files, Hadoop, Salesforce, and Twitter, Facebook. And now, this week, as I mentioned, we introduced 10.1, and it also allows you to use this functionality with relational databases as well. Another thing is, what is it all worth if it's not, you know, responding fast, right? So this is also something which our customers, or in general the customers of business intelligence organizations, stress that they really want this access to information really, really fast, right? And we are constantly working on that. And one of the things that we did in MicroStrategy 10 is so-called Prime. This is something like parallel processing in memory. So first of all, it allows you to do multi-threaded parallel loading of data. So you can connect to many times to the database, and for one task only, not because it was possible before, but for different tasks, different reports, let's say. And now it's possible for one, let's say, task or one cube in the memory. So you can accelerate the data upload a lot. Another thing is that you can use this internal partitioning across multiple cubes. So you might, in Microstrategy 9, you might remember that there was this OLAP cube, which is fantastic. It's very fast. You can load the data there, and you can have access to it very fast. But it has some limitations. The one limitation is 2 billion rows limitation. It's quite a lot, especially when we are talking about in-memory data, which is usually already aggregated a bit. But as you know, there's more and more data, right? And we have to do something about this data. We have to keep more and more of this data and process this data in memory. That's why we now introduce this partitioning across multiple cubes. So you might have one virtual or physical in-memory cube, but this is something like partitioned cube. And you can go over those 2 billion rows. And another thing, which I believe is not less important, is the fact that this technology is created by analytics company. What does it mean? It is not a separate layer. This is incorporated into the whole analytics. So we can use this fact that this is in memory and this is very close to our back-end processes, and we can really accelerate providing the data to the end user. So we can use multi-threaded access to this in-memory data from, for example, one dashboard. So if you look at some examples here that we did already, for example, retailer, they have 500 million row cube, and now with Microstrategy 10 is, in this case, 4 times faster the cube loading, and the execution response time is 4 times faster. Another example is 1.5 billion row cube, which execution is about 3 seconds. Or banking institution, you'll find 470 million row cube, which can be loaded now 9 times faster. Or for example, in technology, we have example of 2.1 billion row cube that can execute and respond below 1 second, right? So this is exactly what you need, especially when we talk about agile analytics, and especially when we talk about, for example, mobile applications, that you will not wait on this response more than a few seconds on your mobile device, right? You need this immediately. That's why we are investing in this technology a lot. Another thing, this is mobile. We improved the mobile area as well. And the most change, I would say, is about native applications. As you know, native means that you have access to all those characteristics of devices, like, for example, as sensors, right? Or you can use some animations, and it's completely different user experience than if you would take just HTML and that's it, right? So we had this native application for iOS devices already, but in version 10 we introduced native application for Android as well. In the past it was something like a hybrid, it was something like a container in which you had some HTML going here and there. So it was not exactly matching the capabilities of iOS applications, but nowadays you have it for both, right? So you have native applications here and there. Another big improvement, I would say, is in transactions. So having a mobile application, you might generate those transactions. You might write back to the systems, back to the data sources, databases, any information you like. So you can create any business scenario and write the information back depending on the situation you are in. But what we improved about this is that when you are offline, you still can use transactions, and it was also in the past. So once you get access to the server, all those transactions will go to the server. There's a queue of those transactions, and the server will know about this, right? So even if you are offline. But now, we introduce also those local capabilities of those applications, which allow you to create some local variables that keep some information. And you can somehow make those mobile applications less dependent from the server. It means that you can create complex scenarios which will work even if we are not connected to the server. So you can instead of writing something to the database first and then retrieving this back and doing something about this, you can first do those processings locally, and then at some stage you might send the results only to the server. So this is another improvement. And of course, there's lots of improvements. For example, some enhanced Touch ID integration or improved good dynamics workflows. Also, some visual insight, for example, that we mentioned already, so this analytics, there's lots of improvements regarding that you can just open this analytics inside iPad app and see these analytics, just like in the web. We are constantly rated #1 in this area of mobile analytics. So there's lots of different organizations, and constantly they rate us as #1 company. And the last thing I would like to mention today is about security, because the security, oh sorry, one more, is administration. So one big improvement in this area is a so-called Operation Manager. This is a completely new product. And by the way, you have it already if you are on maintenance, so you don't need to pay for this product. So you can just upgrade and you will have it. So this allows you to manage the whole ecosystem of BI from one location. In the past, you could do central administration for one environment only. So you had, for example, the development environment and testing environment, production environments, and for each of those you had to administer each of those separately somehow, right? Because this is like a separate installation. But now you have a centralized management from a web browser based on this operations manager. So you can do lots of tasks centrally. You can manage those servers. You can use also this enterprise manager console to analyze all the aspects of executing the reports, dashboards, and so on. You can also create some triggers and enable constant alerting and monitor in general the health of the system. Of course, apart from that, we have other very useful tools. I will just mention one of them, Integrity Manager. This is the tool which allows you to do some regression tests. What does it mean? It means that whatever you want to change in your BI ecosystem, it might impact somehow the results that the business users get, right? So you want to be sure that whatever you do, you will always have the right data at the end, right? So before any change, you can do something like a snapshot of all reports, SQL, MDX generated results, and so on. And you can compare this automatically with Integrity Manager to check afterwards whether anything changed, and you can have something like dynamic documentation generated for you. Okay, I think there's not much time left. I will very fast proceed then. So you have in this operation manager also some dashboards, ready dashboards based on web that you can see overview of the situation, and you can also see lots of details and some alerts and so on. So the last thing is security of the data. Of course, we are in the market for a long time now, and we know that security is the most important. In fact, it's the most important thing about business intelligence, right? That the data is really secure and it's right. So we developed lots of security capabilities that allow you to secure your data, including some privileges and permissions that say whether some user groups or particular users can do specific actions and access specific objects, or for example, data view restrictions and so on and so on. But we introduced recently also a smartphone app-based user verification. Because the main observation, I would say, regarding the breaches of data is that usually they were caused by password abuse, right? So to avoid this in the future, or to reduce this at least, we introduced this Azure platform. This is smartphone app simply that can replace your passwords. This is an option. You don't need to use this, but more and more companies demand this solution, and it becomes more and more important. So it's not only about passwords, that it replaces passwords, but it can replace also physical things like physical badges, security tokens, keys, and so on. So in our company, for example, we use it extensively to access the garage, or to access some specific area in the office, or to access computers, or to access electronic systems in general. We use Azure for that. Okay, with this, I would like to finish. Thanks a lot for having me here and allowing me to talk about this. The next session, I believe, will be able to show this in action. So I believe Kaspars will show a nice demo regarding visual insight and data exploration. Thank you very much.